Our next speaker is a friend of mine. So I am just delighted to introduce her and to have her share with us on a topic that has affected so many of us. Desiree is an operations professional by trade. She is also the co-founder of Faith Out Loud Apparel and the Faith Out Loud Foundation, alongside her husband, who I have sung with many times, the amazing Dale Anthony. Desiree and Dale have been married for 8 years this coming June. Congratulations. And for 6 of those 8 years, they have tried to conceive a child. Here she is to share a little bit about the journey in reference to chapter 5 in Wandah's book. And the chapter is entitled, When Faced with Infertility. Please welcome Desiree Ingram.
Thank you, my dear Ashley. Thank you for that introduction. And thank you for everyone for tuning in. Thank you, Wandah, for the honor of being a part of your debut book launch. I'm truly grateful, truly honored. And I know my journey was not in vain. So, and this moment here confirms that. In the book, Wandah dedicated a chapter to her journey with infertility, and she invited me to share a bit of my journey with you all. Infertility is defined as a disease of the reproductive system defined by the failure to achieve a clinical pregnancy after 12 months or more of unprotected sexual intercourse. So by definition, that applied to me and my husband. We started on our journey of conception back in 2014. So yes, by definition, it applied. However, by faith, I just refused to accept it. During that time, and still to this day, I never referred to myself or my husband as infertile. What I believed was that it would happen. I didn't know when it was going to happen. I didn't expect it to happen immediately, but I also didn't think it would take as long as it did. So after 4 years of trying to conceive, we were elated when after all those years of no's, we got our first yes. Unfortunately, shortly thereafter, we suffered our first loss, and 2 more in the 1.5 years after that. So the losses, no doubt, were devastating. But what kept me through them was undoubtedly my faith. Did I question God? Absolutely. Was I upset with God? No doubt about it. But I also knew I'd need him more than ever. And as a result of seeking him and drawing closer to him, the comfort that I received and the peace certainly surpassed my understanding. There's a scripture, and that became my life. That became a part of my journey, because I didn't even think I had the ability to possess that level of peace, considering that we had been on this journey, we've been trying for so long, and it was right there. And, we suffered the loss. And so the peace that he gave me through it was just, indescribable. But I knew what he promised us, and I stood firm on it. I knew deep down it would all work out for our good. And that was what I kept telling myself, that he would get glory from our story, that our time would come. And every time someone around me would get pregnant, and I felt that gut punch each and every time, I just reminded myself that our time was coming. In the early stages of our journey, I found myself really obsessing over trying to get pregnant. I tracked ovulation, timed intercourse, would take tests days before I was supposed to even start my cycle, and so much more. Sometime along the way, the obsession just got the worst of me, and I knew I had to make a shift. So I started to really focus on spiritual aspects of the journey, and prayer, trust, obedience. We sowed seeds, and we just sought God and what he wanted us to do in the natural, and we trusted that he would fulfill the promise to us. So at the beginning of last year, after our 3rd miscarriage, I needed some answers. Not necessarily why this was happening, but I needed to know how to move forward. I needed to know how to respond. So I sought God to see
what he wanted us to do. How did he want us to respond? And so the things I had done previously, I just knew I couldn't keep doing them because it was an obsession and I didn't want that. And so, and I also wanted to make sure that I was aligned with what he wanted, that my husband and I were doing exactly what he wanted us to do and following the path that he had laid out for us. And so in seeking him and getting those answers, our obedience to his instruction ultimately led to the fulfillment of our promise. We are now 30 weeks pregnant with our first child, a baby boy due in May on his daddy's birthday. So as Wanda mentions in the book, sometimes what we go through isn't about us, but for the glory of God, the people that will be blessed by our journey. And so I recently had someone tell me that I was their picture of hope because I trusted even when I couldn't see the plan yet. I'm sorry, I didn't expect to cry. But even through our losses, I stayed hopeful. Sorry, pregnancy hormones, y'all. And so her saying that to me was what ultimately what this journey was all about, is the people that would be touched by it, the people that would be inspired by it. And I think that that's what we can say for a lot of people who have shared on this evening, that this isn't just about us. Wanda's voice was not just about, her own experience, but the ways in which other people would be healed by what she had to say in her experience and her journey as well. And so, beyond that, my relationship with God was strengthened and deepened beyond anything I ever imagined. And it was my relationship with him that allowed me to really have peace through the losses, to keep trusting, to keep believing for our promise. So in closing, I will quote author Wandah Parenti when I say, no matter what it looks like or how long it's been, no matter the odds stacked up against you, no matter what it is, if God says that he's going to do it, you can consider it done. Don't throw in the towel or be dismayed when it doesn't come to pass the way you thought it would. Don't put limits on God or place him in your box. God is almighty. He's sovereign. He can do the absolute impossible because he's God. If you've trusted him for one thing in your life, know that you can trust him for all things in your life. My husband and I stood on these principles. We didn't try to conceive. We trusted to conceive. And the Lord heard our cries and he answered our prayers. Thank you.